Hello, everyone. Welcome to Zen and Fanfics. Today we are featuring What If Deku's Omnitrix Made Him Immortal? The story is written by Springtrap 212332 on Wattpad. Before we start, please like and subscribe for more content. Now, let's dive into the story. Pain flashes across my body with each heartbeat. I can't help it. I've always been weak, sickly. My body won't gain muscle mass, and my bone and a bit brittle do. My white BLD cells are weak, and I'm slow to heal injuries. But I've found ways to not let my life drag me down. Deku, an explosive Pomeranian yells, blasting me with his explosion quirk. I fly back and tumble on the ground. Cracked rib, it wasn't too powerful, but it was one of his stronger ones. What do you want, you angry Pomeranian? I groan, staying down so he doesn't attack. Katsuki Bakugo, quirk, explosion. Katsuki sweats nitroglycerin sweat and can detonate it, but only on his hands. He's been bullying me for a full 10 years now, since I was 4 and got declared Quirkless. You got a higher score in math. You dare try to challenge me? He roars, charging forward. He lets off a powerful explosion as I weakly roll to the side, destroying the ground and sending me flying. The school has a koi pond in it, the water running to the sewer from a fresh source in the forest nearby. I land with a splash, gasping as I struggle to stay afloat. CRP. I panic, flailing my arms. I can't swim, never had the stamina to last long, so the trips were useless. My energy levels drop rapidly, and I grow tired, my arms and legs moving slower as I sink under the surface. The water pulls me along towards the fence, and I hold my breath, no effort needed for that, as I see a busted grate. No wonder the koi keep vanishing. I'm sucked through, landing in the sewers. Good God, centuries of SHD and PSS, mold and sickness. I scream mentally, not bothering for a new breath, no oxygen down here. I squeeze my eyes shut, my hand clamping my nostrils shut as I press against slimy objects, shivers running down my spine each time. I don't want to know if that's SHD or something else. Slimy stuff is always bad. I feel myself fading rapidly before getting tossed out of the sewer into different water. I can tell by the texture, it's fresher. I let myself drift a bit and feel sand. My hand claws into it, and I slowly drag myself forward, gasping as I reach the shore. I thought I was going to die. I drag myself higher on the sand, noticing the garbage and instantly know where I am. Dagoba Beach, probably the worst place to end up. Rusty metal, toxic waste. Nobody would look for me here. I murmur, my eyes sliding shut. Hopefully I survive this. My eyes blearily open and I notice water lapping at me softly. I'm still on sand, so I barely got high enough to avoid the tide. My energy is lower than before, though. Hello, Izuku Midoriya Tennyson. I have something you need, an aged voice says. I look to the side and see a man in a lab coat, holding a pocket watch with gray hairs in his black hair. My name is Paradox, Professor Paradox. I'm what's known as a time walker. May I sit? He asks. I blink, and he sits beside me. Gumball for you. He pops it in my mouth, and I feel the sugar affect me almost immediately. Now, I'm from another universe, one where the user of this device has no need of it anymore. So I brought it here, since this universe will have great need of it. Following. He asks. I nod softly. Good. This device is called the Omnitrix. It allows the user to walk in another's shoes, so to speak, he chuckles. But one part of its abilities is that it can protect the user in a life-threatening situation. Or if they are injured, heal them. I feel my attention sharpen. Yes, it can heal your weakness. But I must warn you, using this device, it's not a toy. You'll be the only one able to protect the planet. As a hero once said, with great power comes great responsibility, the fate of the planet, and perhaps even the universe will be in your hands. So before you accept it, think, are you willing to shoulder the responsibility of protecting all of this universe? His eyes harden as he states at me, protecting the universe? But I can be a hero with this. But am I ready for that kind of responsibility? Will I ever be? If I did accept, how long would it take for me to be ready to protect everyone? My voice is hoarse and raspy. The danger? I can't tell you. If I do, it will arrive sooner, but I can tell you. You will be able to save the ones you are meant to save. No hero can save them all, but the ones you do save are the ones you needed to save. For some reason that makes a lot of sense and eases my concerns. I'll do it, I rasp. Great. Hold out your left wrist, please. I weakly lift my arm, and he brushes it clean, pulling out a tiny white watch with a green sand timer design on the front. He places it on my wrist, it closes, and I feel it shrink, becoming skin-tight, yet not painfully so. Many little things grab my skin, and I see it begin to glow, morphing into a much wider cold green watch, a similar dial to the watch face appearing. The Omnitrix will bond with you once it has scanned you, and heal you at the same time, Professor Paradox explains as the dial pops up and a yellow light appears from the dial, sweeping up and down my body. DNA identified. Tennyson DNA scanned. Error. Omnitrix cannot lock with DNA. DNA damage detected. A man's voice comes from the watch. Omnitrix, voice override, Paradox, code 888 damaged DNA. 8 Professor Paradox calls. Voice override accepted. Alt DNA unlocked. Skin damaged DNA. Identify how it was damaged. Confirmed. Scanning another yellow beam. DNA has been forcefully altered by outside force. Repairing DNA damage will grant the meta power. Decay. Do you wish to repair? Decay would kill people and damage the Omnitrix. Omnitrix. Can DNA be repaired without restoring the meta power? Analyzing. Analyzing. Yes. Minor alteration will remove metagene from damaged DNA. Do you wish to repair DNA and remove metagene? Paradox looks at me, and I nod, my energy levels dropping again as I cough. Omnitrix, confirm, repair DNA and remove metagene from DNA. Command confirmed, DNA repair and removal initiated. Please do not remove Omnitrix. The dial glows a bright green, and green lines grow from the Omnitrix along my skin. Wherever it goes, I see grows thicker, no longer looking like emaciated skin and bone. My left hand is healed first, so I grab a metal plate near me, seeing it turn to dust as soon as all 5 fingers made contact. I definitely don't want that, I rasp. Barely good for rescue situations, and too limited. Permanent activation, 5-finger touch decay quirk. Near instant dusting? I'd kill myself within a week. Paradox laughs, clutching his gut. Dear me, your entire world just got turned upside down and you analyze your quirk? I knew I picked the right user, he says, while wiping a tear from his eye. I let out a slight chuckle too, feeling better than I have in a long time. DNA repaired. Metagene removal initiated. So just what can I do with the watch? I ask, hearing strength in my voice that wasn't there a moment ago. It has all the catalog DNA of every species of sentient life of the universe I left. Some here may be different, but from how I know, it's mostly the same, a few minor differences. You can transform into all 1,000,000 plus aliens. Only 10 are unlocked at the beginning, so you can adjust to using the watch first. Then the watch will unlock. More as you gain better understanding of it and the aliens within. There is a MSTR control function, transforming with a thought, that is locked till you find a way to unlock it, he smiles. Think of it as a mystery, one I have no doubt you will figure out rather quickly. The green lines across my body recede back into the watch. Metagene removed. Power at 78%. Initiate DNA lock. Paradox voice override. 888 DNA lock. 8 initiate. Command confirmed. Initiating DNA lock. It grabs my skin, biting into it somewhat painfully for a bit before my wrist numbed and all feeling returned without the pain. DNA lock complete. User identify yourself. Paradox mouths to me. Name dash. Izuku Hisashi Tennyson. Identify confirmed. Welcome to the Omnitrix Izuku. Current functions available. Universal Translator. Playlist 1 transformation, storage, teleportation, calling, GPS, DNA scanner, DNA splicer, and Omnitrix control manual. It goes silent and the dial pops down. I would suggest transforming once and back. The Omnitrix has a timer of 10 minutes with 5 minutes recharge time, shown by red. If it goes blue, it's recalibrating. Purple is if it's hacked if there's a temporal threat messing with the timeline before or around you. Yellow is the capture mode, DNA scanning for example. Orange is self-destruct. Given a few days to charge, it will wipe out the universe. Gray is inactive, and pink is when you're under the control of another. He checks his watch. I better get going. One last thing. The face place is really sensitive. If you hit it hard, it'll randomize your choice and time limit, as well as continuously damage the Omnitrix. A simple press is enough to get the job done. Good night, Izuku. I suggest the one with ball feet. It's fast. He walks away, moving around a small pile of trash, and doesn't come from the other side. Must be his time walker ability. Let's see. He said the ball feet, right? I murmur. I press the faceplate to no effect. I decide asking rather than messing around with it. Omnitrix, how do I transform? To transform, simply press one or both of the two panels on the top and bottom of the dial. Then twist the dial till the alien you longing to become appears and press the faceplate down. Answers promptly. I press the two panels and the dial pops up. A hologram of a dog-looking one appears. I twist the dial, feeling a slight tick each segment, and different aliens appear. A tiny frog, a fire-looking one, a velociraptor-looking ball-footed aliens. I press the dial down and a green flash occurs, blinding me momentarily. Damn, I'm looking pretty slick. I chuckle, examining myself, feeling my mind flash at super speed. I slowly move to a clearer area and get into a runner's pose. My face shifts and a mask covers my face as I begin running. I fly across the sand and up the stairs, through the streets, navigating them easily despite moving at nearly 300 miles per hour. Eventually stop outside the apartment I live in with Mom after about 5 minutes, having spent time adapting to my new form. I stop on a dime at the door and for a moment try to think of how to change back before shrugging and pressing the Omnitrix symbol on my chest. A green flash, and I was me again. I knock. My keys in my bag in my locker at school, and after a few moments, Mom opens the door to see me. She screams and pulls me into a hug, pulling me into the apartment and closing the door excitedly. Where have you been? How did you not drown? Why weren't you back earlier? Why do you stink? Her questions flash out at hyperspeed. Mom, deep breath, I say, pulling her arms from around me. She pauses and takes one slow, deep breath, then another. Now, in order, Katsuki blasted me into the koi pond at school. The water washed me into the sewers. Eventually, I came out at the beach, but was too tired to move. I fell asleep. I woke up and met a man named Professor Paradox. The name instantly shocks her, and her face schools into a poker face. What happened? She demands. I explain everything that we spoke about besides the whole responsibility bit and how I'm basically responsible for protecting the planet and universe. I need to call your grandfather. Dinner's in a microwave. She gets up and walks to her room with me watching her, concerned. Omnitrix, can you monitor the call? I ask. Certainly, Izuku. One moment. Inko, what's the emergency? I hear Grandpa Max's voice as I head to the kitchen. Izuku nearly died today, and he met Paradox. Mom answers. Are you sure? This isn't something to him about. I'm sure. I've never mentioned Paradox or the plumbers around Izuku. As far as he knows, Hisashi is his bird father, let alone the fact we altered his DNA since Hisashi was sterile. What? This is either really good or really bad news, Inko. I'm coming over tomorrow. Gwen will come with me. She should be able to get him to stay on while we explain everything to Izuku. They've always been close, more than most cousins. Grandpa Max chuckled. I pull the Katsudan from the microwave and blush. That's because I got a crush on Gwen. Thank you. I worry what this means for Izuku's future. Relax, Inko. Worst possible outcome is that Izuku will die soon, and Paradox helped him so he could die peacefully with you. But even then, Paradox wouldn't mess with the timeline for something like that. It's only good or big important stuff where he's concerned, Grandpa Max says in a grim tone. I'll see you around what? 9 a.m. here? And what about Hisashi? She asks. Yeah, see you soon. Unfortunately, he was called out last week for a deployment. He won't be back for at least a month. Oh, bye. Bye. Communication ended. The Omnitrix says before going quiet. Mom came out and said that Grandpa Max was coming in the morning to explain some stuff before I had a much-needed shower then went to bed. What a day. The next morning I wake up with a ton of energy, unable to stay still. I get up and go about my morning routine, even cooking a healthy yet fatty bacon and eggs breakfast. The time was around 8:30 when Mom got up. She shuffled into the kitchen like a zombie and took the coffee I give her, chugging it and sitting in her spot at the table. Morning, Mom. You are cheery this morning, she grumbled. Course I am. I reach for the salt, and she sees the Omnitrix on my wrist. Izuku. What's that? She asks, pointing at the black band to her around my wrist. This? I'd best explain that when Grandpa Max gets here, no use explaining things twice. Suffice to say that it's called the Omnitrix. She nods and finishes her breakfast, seeing the time and panics, rushing to the bathroom. Women, always worried about their looks, I chuckle. Mom's always cared about her appearance too much, spending hours in the bathroom each morning to go to work for a few hours. When Dad is visiting, she spends all day and night in there, and I often stay at a hotel due to the noises from their bedroom. I hear someone knocking and go open the door, seeing Grandpa Max with his large gut, gray hair, and red shirt with orange flower patterns. Then I see Gwen. It's been about a year since we last saw one another, so I'm surprised by how much she's matured despite only being 14. Grandpa, Gwen, please come in. Mom's just gone to the shower. I move over. Grandpa Max chuckled. Hey, Izuku. You look rather healthy today. Yep, like I was healed. I smirk knowingly. He moves to the lounge, and Gwen stops in front of me. Hey, Izuku, she smiles. My heart flutters. Hey, Gwen, you look great. I mean great. I stuttered nervously. Thanks. So do you? She hugs me, and I blush as I feel her chest press against mine. She walks after Grandpa, her hips swaying, and I watch her appealing behind bounce slightly with each step. I shake myself out of it and close the door, heading to the lounge where Mom had already arrived and sitting on the only available seat, the one beside Gwen. So, Inko tells me you met Professor Paradox yesterday, Grandpa says. Yeah, I left a few things out of the explanation and won't be saying some of them yet. I smile. We'll start from the beginning of the conversation. So I do. I explain how I woke up after crawling up the beach and talked with Professor Paradox. I taught you better than to accept stuff from strangers, Izuku. Mom scolds me after the gumball was mentioned. Mom, I was fully expecting to die last night. I didn't care if he was poisoning me. Probably would have quickened it, I mutter. Anyways, the sugar boosted my exhausted energy enough to interact with him. I then go on to explain what I told Mom last night. But what about the wristband? Mom asks. You told me you'd explain that. The Omnitrix. Yes, basically it's a library of DNA. It scanned mine and identified it was damaged. This had Inko and Grandpa Max pale. What? Damaged how? Mom asks. It appears I had a quirk as a child. Someone tore it from me, damaging my DNA in the process, causing my weakness. This had both adults enraged and yelling. Calm down. It's fixed. I managed to shout over them. Ow! The Omnitrix managed to repair the damage. I smile, pulling back my sleeve to show my slightly muscular arm. Not buff, but regular person amount of muscle. Its main function is to scan, store, and repair DNA. But it has extra functions, such as this. I press the dial and it pops up, revealing the hologram of a familiar alien. A Kinoceleran, Grandpa Max breaths in shock. I press the dial down, and a green flash blinds everyone for a moment before it fades to reveal my new form. I can now transform into any alien race that has DNA in the Omnitrix, I say, darting around the room a few times before sitting beside Gwen again. Incredible. How long does it last? Gwen asks. 10 minutes maximum. Half that for a recharge. I press the Omnitrix symbol and change back. That's the only one I've changed into so far, and only 10 are unlocked right now, I explain. So, you can't turn into all the aliens of the universe? Gwen asks. Not yet, and my aliens are from a different one. This universe, according to Professor Paradox, may have a few new, extinct, or slightly different alien races. Do you have an anodite? Grandpa asks. Omnitrix. Is there anodite DNA in your files? I ask. No, anidites, as a pure energy being, are not possible for scanning. Half anidite DNA may be a potential substitute, but results would be lacking. Lacking how? In power, form, and ability. In every way, the anidite substitute would be a weak mimicry, a cartoon amongst real people. Thank you for the explanation. I look to Grandpa Max. I can't change into an anidite since they have no DNA. Hang on. Omnitrix, are there any non-biological aliens within your files? Yes. Give an example. For example, I have the DNA sample of a Chronosapien, codename Clockwork, a mechanical alien capable of manipulating personal time and traveling through time itself. My mouth drops open. Is Clockwork currently locked? Yes. What playlist is it in? Chronosapien, codename Clockwork, is in playlist 3. It is permanently locked unless Izuku Midoriya is about to die due to a temporal threat, at which time Omnitrix protocol death imminent. If this protocol is temporal in nature, Chronosapien DNA will be unlocked and Izuku Midoriya automatically transformed into it to negate temporal threat effects. And that auto-transformation works for any near-death situation. And if there are other non-biological aliens in your system, perhaps a long scan of an anidite could create sufficient data to synthesize the equivalent of anidite essence, so to speak. Confirmed. Possible idea computing, please stand by. Interesting. Well, I'm definitely going to be a hero, Mom. You can't stop me because I technically can't die from it. Only old age. I look in her direction and she just sighs. All right. Now, we have a fair bit to explain and a few secrets we've been keeping from you, Mom states. First, while you're my bio dash. BRTH son, yes, I'm not Dad's. The Omnitrix, let me listen in on your conversation last night. The way you froze from being all overly motherly and touchy to cold and stern really worried me. Go on. All right. Well, your real father, for the life of me, I can't remember, but his quirk, that's what I remember. At this, she lowers her head sorrowfully. His quirk was to steal, use, and gift quirks to others. Sometimes I have the irrational idea it's fire breath, but then I look through my diary and remember. I feel a cold, tense brick form in my stomach. So, Izuku's BRTH father tore his quirk out of him and caused his sickliness. It wasn't me who said it. I turn to my right and see Gwen shaking in rage, vibrating so intensely I thought she'd come apart. Then I saw her eyes flash pink. Gwen's quirkless like I am, but America has a 60 to 40 quirk to quirkless ratio, so the discrimination isn't as bad there. I turn to Grandpa Max and notice he saw it too. Alien, I mouth. Half anidite. Let her rage, he mouthed back, and I turned to her. I'm gonna kill him. She literally screeched, turning into a purple being with a whiter, lighter shade of purple hair extending far below her waist. Everything in the room was floating slightly, shaking from telekinetic energy with a light pink glow about them as I looked to Grandpa. He nods. I grab her by the shoulders and then her towards me, staring right into those pink eyes. Gwen, calm down. If you don't know, more hugs. In an instant, her eyes widen in shock and she grabs onto me in a hug, wrapping her legs around my waist as she koala bear hugs me. No, not the hugs. In a flash, Gwen was human again. I returned the hug. I knew my hugs were the only reason you enjoy being around me. I smirked smugly. I had a self-satisfied smirk as I look at Grandpa Max over her shoulder. He seemed bemused at how I. Calm her down. What's so odd, Grandpa? She really likes my hugs, basically addicted to them whenever she can get them. I squeeze her tighter, and she basically begins to doze. Anidite detected. Beginning deep scan. All functions will be unusable during this time, the Omnitrix says. Mom, Grandpa, and I continue to talk. They explain the plumbers, about the family's roles in the organization, etc. After about 2 hours, it's around 12:30 when the Omnitrix speaks again. Anidite substitute inoperable for transformation, storing for species reverse extinction function. Incorporating anidite ability, mana manipulation into recharge function, power core enhanced. Timeout function extended to 3 hours. Recharge function extended to 30 minutes if power core fully depleted. New energy-based alien unlocked for enhancing the Omnitrix. Megawatt DNA unlocked, codename Buzzshock. Gwen groans on my lap, waking due to the Omnitrix's clear voice. What happened? My head's killing me. She winces, rubbing her head with a hand. You transformed into an anodite, Gwen, and might I say, a gorgeous one at that. Incoming transmission, Omnitrix says. Accept. I answer, moving the Omnitrix so I could see the dial. The dial pops up and a frog-like alien appears. Interesting, barely a day with Omnitrix, and you've not only unlocked your first alien, but enhanced my Omnitrix's functions. Maybe you're a good user, the frog guy says. Hi, so who are you? Which race are you, and how did you know that I unlocked an alien? I ask. Smart too. I'm Azimuth the Galvan. I created the Omnitrix originally to restore alien races. It has the DNA of, as well as help with peaceful communication, as the wielder can transform into that race and walk a mile in their shoes, so to speak. But I was attacked one day with the prototype in my possession. I was in our Earth, so I sent it down to the planet for Maxwell Tennyson of my universe to find. His 10-year-old grandson Benjamin Kirby Tennyson found it first, and it locked onto his Tennyson DNA, initiating a DNA lock. Then he fought off a few aliens hunting for the Omnitrix, so I decided to let him look after it for a while. As I watched him, I saw him grow from a selfish brat to more of a mature teen in the down of summer. So when he managed to do what I couldn't and fend off Vilgax, I let him keep the prototype. I used the data it sent back to craft the Omnimatrix. The successful product, partway into my research, my assistant stole an Omnimatrix core, and since it was unfinished, created something called the Ultimatrix. He says this with disgust. It had barely any fail-safes and forcefully evolved alien DNA inside it to make the ultimate evolved form of a race. But as I said, it was unfinished. It was synced with the one Benjamin wore. So when Albedo first used it, transforming back wasn't into his true Galvan form. He turned into a white-hair, red-eyes, pale version of Ben and lost most of his intellect. Ben beat Vilgax by detonating the prototype and then stole Albedo's Ultimatrix, using it to fend off alien threats. Eventually, I gave him the Omnimatrix and destroyed the Ultimatrix, an ambitious but cruel weapon. You were the Omnimatrix upon your wrist now. I was shocked, speechless for a moment. Wow, now that's a history lesson. Quite. What did you do to enhance the Omnimatrix? Gwen here is an anodite, or half-anodite. The watch has been scanning her for a few hours, trying to make a substitute. I figured since there were non-biological aliens in it, it could create a cope of an energy being. Remarkable. So simple, yet so effective. Hear that, Ben? You had take key to extending the transformation time to 3 hours by your side. Most of the time you had the watch for the past 15 years. He calls off video. Whatever. At least I stopped spamming the dial down eventually. I haven't slammed it down yet. I treat it like a phone, actually, a tap or press to the screen. I interject. Why didn't I think of that? Ben shouts off screen as something falls over. Ow! Gwen giggles at the byplay. Dweeb. God damn it. I thought I wouldn't hear that nickname again. Ben roars off hologram, making us, as well as Azimuth, laugh. Anyways, read the manual. You'll get a better understanding of the watch, unlike the brat over there. I'll be in touch. The hologram flickers out, and the dial sinks back into the watch. I guess his Gwen called him that, too. I chuckle. Gwen blushes at her position, but since she's been in it for a while, she shrugs and grips me tighter. DMN, you're clingy today. What is it? PRD week. MHM, she nods. Oh. I was messing around. I thought it was more of a lack of hugs, making you want to hug. Oh well, I get to enjoy the feeling of her pressed against me for a while longer. After that event, we quickly got into a routine. Each morning I would do push-ups each day, sit-ups, squats, so on and so forth. Then I would read a portion of the manual, usually as gray matter, so his eidetic memory and vast intellectual capacity can let me remember and dumb it down for myself. After that is school, still SHD, but I have the Omnitrix registered as my quirk, my weakness and lack of stamina being my quirk's attempt to craft a way to allow me to use it. and my physical weakness being the sheer immensity of diverse DNA in my body, unidentifiable by normal machines, weakening my body. But since the Omnitrix is part of my quirk, so to speak, it can identify, select, and bring that DNA strand to the surface, transforming me. With my drawbacks being reliance on the watch and a time limit. I use the info from the manual to reset the time limit to 10 minutes, and 5 recharge Sony can incrementally increase it, as if I'm strengthening my quirk. Of course, since it all happened around the end of the school year, I graduated from middle school and have 4 years to train for UA's entrance exams. Not that I need it. Simply being any one of my aliens is enough to pass the exam. Heat Blast can melt robots. Cannon Bolt can run them over. XLR-8 can run through the exam site and dismantle or stab each robot in a hit. Ripjaws, if there's a water area, can bit through most metals. Gray matter? I can build a machine to use as a human. Stinkfly could stick them in place and destroy them with his tail. But I might lose points for his stench. Forearms can brawl them. Upgrade can simply take control and upgrade it, using it as a weapon. And Wild Mutt? Great senses, strong physical ability, and sharp claws. Track and Hunt. Ghost Freak is the only one I couldn't use, simply because he takes over other people, goes through walls, and goes invisible. And he's creepy. Then, Buzzshock. This little guy is a real powerhouse despite his size. He can absorb and release electricity, travel wires, clone from excess energy, fly, and more. But that's years away. With school over, I spend half my day training. The other half is devouring the Omnitrix manual, which I finished after a month. When I finished, I was honestly terrified of the power I'll one day wield. And I'm not talking about Alien X. I already know of how to negate the 3 consciousness agreement controls. I'm talking about the MSTR control, 1 million aliens, sheer diversity of powers, ultimate function, the ability to restore entire literal species of aliens. That's civilization's worth of aliens. And I can do it for over 1 million races. On another note, like Professor Paradox said, I figured out how to access the MSTR control in a day. Upgrade can interface with technology and enhance it with his intellect, so I tested out a few uses of MSTR control, then locked it again. Christmas slowly crawls around, but there's no snow forecast for the day. So when the day started and I looked outside, instantly knew I had to do something to make this a white Christmas. I have a confession after all. Omnitrix, what is the best way to cause snow in the city? Function not available. Roundabout ways include using an ice life form, teleporting to a snowy region and store it, bringing it back, and entering the storage space of the Omnitrix to a frosty biome. Name frost biomes within Omnimatrix. Quite a few appear, so I removed the Ice Age and seasonal ones, finding a nice snowy region on the home planet of Arctiguana. An alien in the 3rd playlist. Once that was settled, I make my way out into the lounge, finding Gwen on the couch, reading her magic book like usual. Hey Gwen, I greet. MHM. She absently agrees. Say, do I look good naked? I ask. MHM. I wonder. I walk around behind her and press her shoulder. No reaction. I tug a hair. No reaction other than leaning her head back and repositioning the book so she can continue reading. DMN, what has you so fixated this morning? I ask myself. I lean over her shoulder and see truth spells. Then love spells. Then CNTR-CPTV spells. I slap the back of her head and step out of reach as she swings her arm through the air I was in, definitely a cracked rib. Nice right hook, Gwen. But you were so absorbed by reading I could have taken advantage of you right then. She blushes furiously and seems to be contemplative. Like you do that, dweeb. When she calls me dweeb, it's more of a fine nickname rather than the insult it was for Ben. I probably would. I hop the back of the couch and sit next to her, especially if it got a hottie like you to SCK my dash. I smirk as the faded blush returns full force. What? Don't like the idea. You reading a book, sucking on an ice cream that in reality is my dash. I whisper in her ear, then kiss her cheek and get up, heading to the kitchen as if nothing happened. It was a full minute before she rushes into the kitchen as I begin to cook, planning to yell at me. Instead, I head her off and grab her waist, pulling her close and kissing her full on the lips Her anger vanishes, and she wraps her arms around my neck as we make out. My hands grab and squeeze her bottom, making her into my mouth. I pull away, and we gasp for air. I was planning a snow confession, but I guess that helps. I breathe out, catching my breath before turning back to the bacon, flipping it. Oh no, we're cousins. She panics, and I absently tap her nose, getting her to blink and look at me. Technically, we aren't. My DNA was altered to match the Tennyson DNA, but I'm not actually a BRTH Tennyson. I see no moral issues to worry about. I explain, taking the bacon out of the pan and adding the eggs to add bacon flavor to the plain egg taste. But what will Grandpa and Auntie Inko think? What will my parents think? Grandpa's been helping me plan the confession, and Mom doesn't particularly care who I'm with. As long as it's actually love, the girl ain't using me, and she gets grandbabies. This calms her for the most part. And in my parents? If they aren't happy for you, then they can stuff it. The only person you should ask about if this is okay is you. If you think it's wrong, we don't do this if you want it. Everyone else's opinion. I dish up the food and set the 4 places. Izuku? There's only us 2-inch, Gwen says, gesturing to the room. Actually, Mom and Grandpa have been hiding around the corner since we were kissing, listening in on us. I comment, casually cutting up some bacon and eating it. The 2 mentioned adults come in once I broke their cover, shamefaced at being caught. How did you know? In order to not be beaten up by Katsuki, I had to strengthen my senses to hear him coming. His walk has a rather distinct sound, as does each of his cronies. Oh, and he smells like caramel, his quirks altered sweat. I answer casually, swallowing down the bacon. How do you know that he smells like caramel? Gwen asks slowly. Every time he detonates his quirk, undetonated sweat is sent through the air with the explosion, and the smoke smells like burnt caramel. I shrug. If you smell it enough, you tend to be able to pick it out of a variety of teenage smells. Gwen wrinkles her nose. That I can attest to. Much nicer to smell the deodorants and perfumes than the disgusting smell of unwashed boys, she states in disgust. You don't know the half of it, Gwen. The boys' change room is nearly 20 times that dense, putrid, and has a massive buildup of methane. Yet the guys' usual spark lighters to smoke. This had Mom and Gwen turn green. Grandpa just keeps eating. I'll make lunch, Grandpa volunteers. No, Gwen panics. Nothing you make is edible. Now I know why. It's alien food, isn't it? Grandpa chuckles. Got me. I figured there was a chance of abduction, entering the plumbers, or another thing like humans discovering aliens on their own. I felt if any of those happen, best to have an understanding and tolerance to them. I remember a few of the meals myself. Oddly enough, I feel like eating some. I'll try some. I could never have the stronger stuff, and maybe it'll cause alien unlocks. Grandpa gained a broad smile. Done. I'll have some Tetraman spicy soup for you. Should probably get used to eating in those forms too, in case I end up locked in 1-inch. After breakfast, we opened presents. Gwen got me an outfit, blue jeans and a green jacket with a 10 on the left, and a simple shirt under that. Alien Force outfit. I immediately put on the jacket, feeling it shrink to fit to my size. Thanks, Gwen. I kiss her cheek. From Grandpa Max, I got a pair of pistols. Max! Mom exclaims angrily. What? One day he'll time out and need to protect himself. Guns do that great. Plus, it's level 3 technology, nowhere near as high as the level 20 he uses as a watch and won't get him in trouble. Thanks, Grandpa. Maybe you can teach me when we get to the surprise I have for everyone. And I moved to Mom's gift. It was a phone, but different from what ones I know of. While I'm not as connected as, say, your father or grandfather are, I have a few alien friends I keep in contact with a Tetraman and a Kineceleran who have kids your age. Rhonda's son, Manny, wants to fight your Tetraman Form 4 arms. They'll keep it secret, but I feel you could use actual alien friends since you turn into them now. I jumped across the table and hug her hard. While I'm not happy she divulged my secret without permission, I am glad she did it for a good reason. Who's the Kineceleran? The daughter is Helen Wheels. I thought one would like a girl to talk with as well as help you, Izuku, with treating your girl right on dates and such. Of course, I need to get used to the fact that you don't do normal anymore. Did I ever? I sit back in my spot before noticing one final gift. I reach under the tree and drag out the rather small box and open the card. Dear Izuku, I know I'm not around much, but your mother sends me regular messages to explain how well you're doing despite being sick. She also explained how and why you got sick and that you're better now. While I know by human standards you can't use this yet, it's never too early to learn in case of emergencies. Love, Dad. P.S. Inko tells me you like Gwen. Go get her, son. I give the letter to Mom to read and open the box. Inside was a key on a ring with a remote attachment. I pull out the key and see a picture under it. It was a black and green muscle car, squarish in shape compared to the usual curved surface of most cars nowadays. Mom, do we have a garage? I ask. Yeah, why? I normally just store our alien tech in there. I think Dad gave me a car. I hand her the picture, and I see fondness in her eyes. That old girl. Yeah. Remember when you got this for Hisashi Max? She asks, handing the picture to Grandpa. Yes, for his 14th. Seems like he wants to make a tradition. If I remember right, he added a ton of gray area alien tech. The durability should take 4 arms' strongest punch with barely a dent and some countermeasures for theft. He passes the picture to Gwen, who looked at it. As long as you don't prioritize it over me, I'm fine with it. She passes it back. I watch as everyone else opened their presents, getting thanked for the stuff I'd crafted with my aliens. Mom got a pair of pearl earrings, which I found with ripped jaws while working on my searching skills, and used heat blast to melt, then mold some silver in a cradle settings that acted like a fishing hook, but looped. I was working on controlling my temperature while also doing finger dexterity practice, since heat blast had a mix of fire and magma hands and feet. Grandpa Max chuckled as he opened his gift, a simple large mug with an inscription on it. I faced beings that would make you tremble, skull and crossbones. And on the base, when he lifted it, would make any man laugh. Women in PRGNNCY middle finger. He immediately filled it with some nutmeg and took a sip with a broad smile. Gwen eagerly opened hers, curious about what I got her. Out came a chain bracelet, made of silver and gold spun in a helix that circled in each segment. The strands holding them together was made of thin brass that's oxidized to green and black refined graphite. The special thing in terms of cosmetics is if the chain is laid flat, the chains are flat in gaps and turns into a long DNA strand. That strand has etchings in it that only becomes visible when laid flat that look like the Omnitrix's patterns when the dial pops up. Mom and Grandpa look at it shocked. That, Gwen, is made from gold and silver of as high a purity as I could get by using heat blast and gray matter. The green is simple oxidized brass and the black, refined graphite. Lay it down so the segments lock together. She lays it down and makes it flat as everyone's vision shifts from seeing many small DNA loops to one giant DNA strand. I pull out a magnifying glass from the Omnitrix and give it to her. She looks real loose and sees the etching much clearer and snaps her face up to me. Purely cosmetic, I wanted to test myself. What's he done, Gwen? Mom asks, finally recovering from the shock of the gift. He's etched the same patterns the Omnitrix has on the dial when it moves up. It's not much. I made a second one out of plain steel when I was practicing my transformations when I realized you'd love something like it. So I rooted through the junk on the beach and found anything I could use and remade it. Only took a few days. I rubbed the back of my neck sheepishly. Enough of this. Omnitrix, take us to the Nelly replica. Please stand by. A green flash goes off and a green watch falls to the ground. Its wielder and all the other people in the room taken within it for a snowy Christmas. My training increased slowly, and I began training my actual transformations whenever I got the spare time. I did have that fight with Manny and thoroughly enjoyed it. Then he began teaching me a few Tetramand fighting moves. They don't have much, mostly just overpowering their opponents, but rings like using all their strength and clapping all their hands to make shockwave. Now that's useful. Helen was rather appealing, but I only have eyes for Gwen. Helen had flirted and tried to get me to mate with her in my XLR8 form since she was in heat, but I resisted the call. She'd been teaching me how to keep my speed up while doing sharp turns. I hadn't told Gwen since she and Helen were really getting close, and Helen couldn't particularly control herself since I was the perfect male to be with. I did have issues with an old form and got a replacement. Ghost Freak took over my body a lot and tried to attack Gwen. Eventually, I managed to get the Omnitrix to isolate and erase the ectoneurite DNA Azimuth had approved when I called him about the issue. Flashback. The hologram was a simple loading circle for a few minutes. Yes. What is it? Azimuth asks Raider grumpily when he appears. I had an issue with one of the DNA samples. Oh, what kind of issue? He asks. I see his hands moving in front of him, keyboard. It kept trying to make me kill Gwen and my mom and Grandpa. Which was it? Ectoneurite. This had him look up at me and give me his full attention. Really? What happened next? Well, I tried to reason with it, but it kept trying to kill, so I had the Omnitrix isolate the DNA sample and erase it, doing a systematic purge of any trace of the DNA, leaving the information behind after searching through that. He strokes those dangling bits on his chin with a hum. That's much better than Ben. He ignored the issue, and the ectoneurite DNA escaped, becoming one of his many enemies. I approve of that action. I'll find a replacement sample and try to keep it from gaining sentience. That sample wasn't meant to, but this just means I have to find the error. Thank you for bringing this to my attention, unlike Ben, who never told me squat. He hung up. I keep forgetting that scientists have little patience for others. Flashback end. I haven't received the new sample, but Azimuth did unlock another of the playlist 1 aliens. Diamond Head. Now, this was a beast I enjoyed having in my playlist. His body is made up of biocrystals that he can manipulate for a variety of different effects. And he's durable, super strong, adaptive, and only really has 3 or 4 weaknesses. Sound. Hitting the right frequency would shatter me. Super over-the-top strength could crack then shatter me. Temporal effects like my old quirk, Decay. And speed. He isn't fast on his feet, unless if I make a surfboard and generate crystals under it to create motion. I decided for practice, I'd rebuild a skate park. I picked one close to the house, which was in dire need of revitalizing, and demolished each thing, then recreated it with my crystals, working on smoothness, complexity, and removing the glare. The glare somewhat worked, by roughening the crystals to the point they were too pointed to reflect, but smooth enough to be unnoticed as rough. Since the park's not complex, it was easy to recraft. 4 monkey bars my attempts were bad, so I encased the bars in crystals and as heat last melted and removed the metal from inside it. Then as Diamond Head, I would fall that inside and reabsorb the outer case. I can make flowers though, surprise when in bed with breakfast, and a bunch of crystals roses on her birthday. Then I spent the day making hers, relaxing and enjoyable. Gwen's moved her stuff over here from Bellwood. Something about a creepy classmate? Nothing creepier than an ectoneurite. I proposed after 3 years of dating, after I caught up with her at 18, only a month between us. And the wedding? Simple, but lovely, small too. Mom, Aunt Natalie, and Uncle Frank, Helen and Manny's parents came. Grandpa had over 2 people too. Both ladies have history with him apparently. Xylene and Verdanta. I wondered how Gwen was an Anodite when her parents weren't. Dad even made an appearance and didn't recognize me at first. The watch has slowly been changing my appearance to Ben's. At first I was panicky, but Gwen soon smacked me up the head and suggested calling Azimuth about it. Flashback. Once again, I'm watching the loading circle. What is it, Tennyson? He demands, not looking up from his work. Your watch has another downside to it. I'm doing a slow albedo. His head snaps to face me. What do you mean? I'm turning into a copy of Ben the longer I have it. I didn't notice at first, but each time I changed my hair would change a hair at a time. It was when my eyes lightened to match Gwen's that I realized I loved my emerald eyes. Strange. Let me see. He moves to a different table and looks at something off screen. How odd. The Omnitrix, when wore it for so long, adapted to him, meaning the neurological interface was connected to his. This allowed MSTR control to work, but that gave the Omnitrix the ability to know Ben better than he knew himself, changing the aliens he needed versus what he wanted. I see. When the Omnitrix healed you, it used the only other human DNA it knew of as a template. It used Ben's, meaning the change will continue, but only cosmetically. If someone takes BLD, you'll be you, but in looks, you'll gain his features. Better than a baby face you were meant to keep for life anyways. I don't even blink in surprise or shock. Okay, that makes sense now. Is it changing my energy? Because my stamina has shot through the roof in a matter of weeks. He begins typing. Found it. The Omnitrix samples are constructed within the Omnitrix as planets, and such with full species. But to limit the effect, I had it sequence their mating cycles to be at the same time each year. The next 2 months are going to be the same, since you have 1,000,000 mating cycles happening on your wrist, causing a minor bleed over effect for your energy. I suggest if you don't want an apoplexian temper, satisfy yourself as often as you can. Anything else? No. Bye. I hang up the call with a huge blush. Flashback end. That was the most embarrassing conversation of my life, outpinging the talk with Mom. I had to tell my wife that I was going through something similar to a heat, and we had to have lots and lots of dash. We spent every day and night in our newly soundproofed room with a bare minimum breaks for food, water, and hygiene. Now, I step out of the shower, my towel around my waist, and feeling exhausted. Talk about high stamina, 2.5 months nonstop dash. I dry and dress, stepping out into my room to see not one, but 2 complete dead to the world drooling messes. Gwen decided to add Helen, and only Helen, to the relationship between us, and only as a heat thing. If she has a heat, I help her. If I have a heat, she and Gwen help me. Though I may still treat her to dinner once in a while, and treat her to dates and such, so she doesn't feel used. I gently tap Helen on the shoulder. Please, no more. I feel pain in the pain in my feet, she groans. No more. You need a shower, Helen, I murmur softly. She tries to move, only her tail wriggles. I chuckle slightly and lift her in a bridal carry and take her to the bathroom, setting her into the herbal bath I'd prepare before my shower. She moans at the feeling of the water on her bruised flesh. I kiss her cheek and head back out, letting Gwen rest for a bit longer. That's how Mom came out to find me, whistling while I made food for everyone, a Kinniseller meal for Helen. She heals quick, so she won't be too long. You're out of your room. Mom hugs me from behind. Does that mean the heat is over? I don't have a heat. My aliens do. That heat just enhances my need to have NTR CRS. I mentally switch to Galvan mode. Due to my extended time, in each form I can, somewhat shift my brain to think like them. For example, XLR8 just lets me have an easier time seeing fast objects, gray matter, lowers my emotional output, and makes me speak intellectually. Wrath makes me able to focus when angry, and so on and so forth. I know this isn't in the show, but it makes sense, right? Ben shows a few minor alien abilities like Spider Monkey's danger sending ability during the show. If she notices my change, she ignores it. So how are the girls doing? I put Helen in an herbal bath before coming out here. Gwen's still out of it. I'm not sure whether to be upset. I basically broke them. Or proud I can. I say softly, placing a plate in front of her. Try both. Upset you broke them, but proud of your stamina. Your dad was the same, she says shortly, knowing I'd hate excess information. I go check on Helen, finding her trying to get out of the water, helping her up as the water washed off her surprisingly large dash, and help her dry down. She puts on her clothes, the specially designed clothes hiding her DD cup to a Simple B cup. Food is in the kitchen. I'll just get Gwen into the bath and come back out. I watch her appealing behind leave the room before going through the same thing with Gwen. She healed far quicker, using a few numbing and healing spells while in the bath. She came out to the kitchen not long after. So, is this a relationship between you 3? Or a friends with benefit situation? Mom asks, making Helen choke on her coffee. Well, originally it was supposed to be a 2-way heat help thing, but I still plan or a bit of romance for Helen, if she's fine with that. I half-ask, half-answer. I was looking at Gwen when I said it, and she nods. It's fine, Izuku. Just know, besides heats, I hear her telepathic voice. I'd be okay with a date or 2, but only if Gwen's fine with it. She tends to Gwen, who smiled as she nodded. Great. UA starts in 2 weeks, the exam later this week. Have you decided if you're interested in attending Helen? I asked. Not too sure. I was planning on joining the plumbers, but I don't think I'd be allowed to due to the law. Intergalactic law. I lift the Omnitrix to see a blue faceplate. A wave of lighter blue sweeps up and down the hourglass symbol. That's new. I murmur, trying to open the faceplate. That function is not available. Please stand by. it answers in my voice. It used to use Ben's. Omnitrix, update on status, I command. Omnimatrix has been in use for 4 years, 3 months, 28 days, and 12 hours. Omnimatrix is now in recalibration mode. Please stand by. Estimated time for recalibration. 4 days, 12 hours. I might have to do the UA entrance exam Quirkless. Is there a way to speed up recalibration? Calculating. Unlocking MSTR control for duration of recalibration will shorten time length to 12 hours. MSTR control is an active neurological link to the watch, allowing it to scan his mind faster. I check the time, 3 p.m. Activate MSTR control for the next 13 hours Omnitrix, I command. Understood. Please lay down so mind skin may commence. I walk to the couch, laying on it and feel a foreign presence in my head as I pass out. I open my eyes and see a dark room. Small glowing lines below me in vertical and horizontal lines, circles intermittent around that. Where am I? I wonder. Your current location and on the couch. Your mind, however, has been brought inside the Omnitrix, my voice responds. The darkness lifts, and I see myself in a green and black tunnel that opened to a replica of Japan. As I watch, aliens wander about below like actual people would, interacting and talking with each other. A hologram appears of Azimuth. This is a recording. Now you won't try talking to me. I'll explain. This is the internal representation of the Omnimatrix. When in here, you and you alone can interact with the systems. If you are here, the Omnitrix has entered recalibration mode and will pick a smaller, easily hidden form. It will work the same, just look like an actual watch. Here you will be selecting your new playlist. Ben had no choice, but his choices were similar to the playlist one. Your playlist one will remain unlocked. This message will now deactivate. The holographic azimuth disappears, and a system-generated screen appears with a list of 50 aliens. So I can't pick any I want. Just from 50, huh? Better than no choice. I scroll through the names and their abilities, quickly making a list of what I know I want. Swampfire. A Methanosian was a must-have. His regeneration is key. Big Chill as a Necrophrygian would cover some weak spots I have, namely ice and the permeation I lost when deleting Ghost Freak. Echo, Sonorosian for sonics and having decoys. Jet Ray the Aerophibian, for flight and speedy sleight at that. Brainstorm the Cerebrocrustacean for gray matter, but with fighting capabilities in case I need a plan and fight. Goop the Polymorph for stealthy entrance and capture of people, acidic and sticky when needed. And his morphing shape makes most physical attacks useless. Wildvine as a Florina has similar powers to Swampfire, but he can also merge with plant life, becoming king in vegetative areas. Humongousaur, a Vaxasaurian for outdoor fighting when 4 arms isn't useful, his extra growth ability good for enhanced combat, should I need it. Chamalien as a Merlinisapian gives Big Chill's invisibility, but I can touch stuff. Spider Monkey I chose as an Arachnicimp for his webbing and nimbleness, as well as his spider sense. And finally, Ditto, the Splixen, I can clone and change into a bunch of different aliens when I absolutely have to do so. I confirmed it, and a representation of each appears in front of me. Each turns into a ball of green light and fly to my wrist, entering the representation of the Omnitrix on my wrist. I lift it and watch as it glows. In the light, I can see the watch itself turn into an upgrade color pattern and sharing, the dial circling around a few times as if it's winding the rest in. Awesome. The light fades, and I see its new appearance. It shrunk to the shape of a regular wristwatch when they had the clock faces. The black from the last design had thinned with the green strap on either side on top of a strong gray segmented strap. It has the dial with 2 small gray buttons, a green dot in the center of both on the 12 and 6 o'clock points, the 2 cylinder bars on the 3 and 9 o'clock sides. Then there were 4 white pipes-looking bits at the 1:30 for 30, 7:30, and 10:30 positions feeding into the gray part of the strap. The dial itself was a bit taller than the first one, and instead of quarter segments was solid. On the inside, however, it had 22 lines, so 23 segments, 1 line for each alien I have access to right now. From the looks, it appears to be 6 centimeters tall, 7 centimeters on the inside long and 5 centimeters wide. It sits snug and firm on my wrist. The dial appears to be 3.5 centimeters from my wrist hole and 4 centimeters wide and long. Now that's what I call a watch. I smirk. Recalibration complete. Deactivating recalibration mode. Locking MSTR control. Everything goes dark, and I open my eyes again, seeing the ceiling and sit up, looking at the watch. I press the 2 buttons like the previous model and CYCL through my aliens. It's a bit fat to find them all as each segment ticks past. I fiddle, working on memorizing each alien placing as I make myself some simple toast. Oh, and a smoothie, banana, mango, and beetroot. Disgusting according to Gwen, but I like it. Probably the Tennyson DNA in me. I transform into Big Chill and see the room brighter than before. I let out a slow breath and see Frost fog up. Cool. I chuckle, my raspy voice sending a chill down my spine. I let out a more focused breath, watching the top of my smoothie frost over and use one of my claws to stab it a few times, swirling it around, and take a sip. Perfect. I tap the symbol and change back as I enjoy my food. Hey Omnitrix, how long till the next Necrophrygian reproduction, CYCL? I ask. The next Necrophrygian reproduction, CYCL, is in approximately 2 weeks. What? CRP. Is there a way for me to avoid being pulled into the Necrophrygian reproduction, CYCL myself? No. CRP. I groan. First the bleed, overheat, now this? Am I cursed to forever breed now? Wait. Necrophrygians lay eggs. Is my butt going to hurt? Do Necrophrygians have asses? How do they lay eggs? Do they puke them? Do they spit open just to lay eggs? Are Necrophrygians even in this universe? Omnitrix, can you scan the universe for Necrophrygians? Are they even here? Insufficient power for that action. There are no Necrophrygians in this universe anymore. Izuku, I hear behind me. Jesus! I curse, turning around in a fighting position to see a familiar professor. Oh, hey Paradox. Izuku, you've grown. It's been a few minutes for me. Or is it yet to come? I often forget. Anyways, as I was saying, Necrophrygians aren't native to this universe, so I came to tell you a trick you can do with the Omnitrix. The storage function is separate from the simulated world in the Omnitrix. But if you combine them, then that simulated world becomes real, an actual universe on your wrist. Add in some Chronosapien DNA to it, and time inside will proceed faster than the outside. A good home for the Necrophrygian kids, right? Till the numbers grow high enough to let them free and populate the universe. I offer him the Omnimatrix and let him mess with it for a while as we spoke. So what brings you now? I doubt my kids flying about the universe is bad at the moment. It's not just an excuse. Remember what I said when we first met? I flash back to that moment. How long do I have? I ask, determination stealing my voice. It has already begun. All Might is teaching at UA. His arch-nemesis, believed to be dead, has raised a suitable successor while All Might's dwindling strength has him rushing to find his own. UA is about to get pretty busy this year. Good thing Helen will be there. When she is needed, she'll be someone who you can rely on. Gwen will be by your side every step of the way. Your mother is too old to fight, like your grandfather, but they will be a great source of wisdom for you. Listen to them. I'm done, he says, stepping back. When the event happens, you'll have a weekend, spend it as a Necrophrygian. Then send your kids into the miniature universe you now hold. Accelerate it to 20-to-1 ratio in days, and watch the magic happen. He glows white, and I cover my eyes. When the light vanishes, I look to see he did too. I spend the next few days digesting the information Paradox had given me, feeling worry in my gut. The day of the exam arrives, and I arrive with Gwen and Helen. We head in and do the written test. Helen and I super speed through it and wait for Gwen outside before going to the practical test presentation. We sat side by side as we listened to Present Mike explain the exam. We got this in the bag, I muttered to the girls who nodded. I was going through my aliens, trying to decide who to use when a blue-haired kid stands up and starts berating Present Mike for not explaining the exam properly. And you, kid with a watch, stop messing around with that stupid thing and focus on the exam. This is a vital part of our futures, and you're just messing around. He turns to me. Oh, SHD. Helen mumbles. He's dead, Gwen groans. Stupid watch. My voice is no higher than a whisper, but it carries. Anger fills me. Nobody insults the Omnitrix. I stand and calmly walk out of the row, down to the blue-haired kid, and look him up and down. You're a speedster. What's your top speed and acceleration speed? What? 120 miles per hour. I can get to third of 6 gears in 50 meters. I chuckle. You're too slow, fool. I can go 500 and my acceleration is near instant. My stupid watches, as you call it, is my quirk. I lift my arm and in full view of the room, CYCL my aliens setting on XLR8 and press down the button. A green flash goes off and fades to reveal me. My quirk is unstable DNA, and inside my body here are infinite variations of DNA, constantly evolving. My watch is mutant manifestation of my quirk. It allows me to isolate and bring to the forefront a single strand to change into. However, my quirk makes sure I always have the best form I can, so don't test me, or I will destroy you. I flash to my chair, lifting everyone's hair as I change back. That's the official explanation of why I have so many different types of transformations and quirks. Mike dismisses us, and the three of us have to split up. I sit alone on the bus when someone sits next to me. I look up and see a round-faced girl with a brown bob cut and a permanent blush on her face. She has about half the size of Gwen's, large for a human, but not enough to even get me interested. I ignore her and CYCL through to 4 arms. I press the buttons again, and the dial sinks into the watch as I look out the window. So, you're kind of cute, she says. Whatever, I answer. Want to get a bite to eat after this? I know of a good matcha place near here. She tries again. No, not even a coffee. I'm not interested in you. She pouts in the order of my vision, using a powerful set of puppy dog eyes. Those don't work on me, woman. Go away. No, you are way too alone. I can tell you no. You let off a distrustful aura, meaning someone hurt you in the pod dash. Shut up, Beach. I said I'm not interested, so go away. I snap. She grows angry and raises her hand to slap me. I catch the hand with my left and painfully twist the skin on her wrist. Look at my hand, I growl. She does and looks enraged. I'm a married man. Go away and don't come near me again. The bus stops and she gets off in a huff. I step off myself and see the massive gate. I wait and see President Mike appear in the tower beside the gate. I lift my arm, press the buttons. The gates groan as mechanisms begin opening the massive steel gates, creaking inwards, and press down the dial. A flash of green, and I charge forward. Incoming, coming through, my deep voice calls, as I use each of my arms to push people aside softly and charge through the opening gate. 4 arms in the house. 4 arms is in the house. I call, charging ahead. My lower eyes look around, my upper ones focus on the ground ahead. I pass up the first set of 3-pointers and punch through a 1-pointer. I grab its arm and carry it as I run, tossing it ahead into another robot. I keep this pattern up and gather a significant amount of points. A few times I've had to step in and help the others out with their bots, crushing the heads. At some point, I feel a rumble in the ground and head in that direction. 4 arms isn't too fast, but he's faster than some others I could have picked. I reach the street the rumbling came from and find a massive robot in the street. My lower eyes catch sight of that round faces girl from earlier and the treads close to her with no sign of stopping. I burst into action, charging ahead of the watching crowd, and see the robot stop and reverse a bit, then make a punch, throwing it at the girl. A test of my strength, then Nizu. I'll play. My feet slide across the tarmac and I spin in front of her, arms up, and I catch the punch, grunting as I strain from the effort. Damn it, heavier than I thought. I grunt, readjusting my legs then my arms. I feel my arms being overpowered as the robot's arm strength increases. DMN, how should I play this? Girl behind me, so I can't risk moving. Pressure's increasing, I need more power. Tetramans are pretty strong aliens, but I recently got an ungraded, didn't I? My arms tense as I prepare for a singular burst of movement, and in a single moment. I push with my arms, gaining a bit of room. My lower right arm taps the Omnitrix, and a green flash blinds everyone. The arm comes back, and I have to catch it again. Humongousaur. I roar. My two yet much stronger arms easily catch and crumple the massive fist. I twist it off the arm, lean back as the fist goes above my head, and throw it forward. Time seems to slow as it flies through the air, rotating for a full second before hitting and taking off the head of the robot. I let out a roar of victory before I turn and lift some rubble off the girl and lumber away as she stands. Don't expect me to always rush in to save you, little girl. Not all heroes are as fortunate as yourself, my deep baritone rumbles. Exam over. Everyone return home. Your result will be arriving in the mail in a week. Present my calls. I tap the Omnitrix as gently as I can weight my massive finger, changing back to human, and select XLR8, running out of the site in a second, arriving at the gate to change back. Unsurprisingly, both girls were already at the gate. You riding back with us, Helen? I ask, pulling my keys from my pocket. Nah, I'm heading to the mountains for a run. That exam was too slow for my taste. She blurs away, and I click the key fob. A minute passes before my car drove up, having been parked in a side street, growling as it stopped in front of us and unlocks. Care for a ride, MDM? I ask, opening the passenger side door. Why, thank you, kind sir, she giggles, stepping in as I close it. I get in my own door and start the car, seeing the round-faced girl rushing to the gate to see me close my door. She stomps towards my car, and I press the accelerator, peeling out of the space. Who is she? Gwen asks, having noticed the angry girl. She tried to flirt with me, showed her my ring, still seems to think she has a chance when I have you. Ah, that's so sweet. She kisses my cheek. But she tries anything? I'm dropping her into the sea. Bermuda sounds nice this time of year, and I do love math. I feel a shiver up my spine as I remember how terrifying my wife was. The next week was boring. Gwen and I got into 1A with Helen and headed to the first day Monday. We look up at the massive door with 1A in red, and I sigh. Overcompensating anyone? I ask rhetorically, not expecting an answer as I open the door. Inside, it was like a regular school day. Friend groups, liners, jocks acting superior. The jocks in question are Bakugo and the blue-haired guy from the entrance exam. Oh God, I groan. I think we got off on the wrong foot. I am Tenya Ida of the Ida family. I attended and graduated semi-academy with honors. You? I'm Katsuki Bakugo, next number 1 hero. Don't get in my way, you elitist, Bakugo spits back. Is it too late to transfer to 1B? I ask quietly. Far too late. Let's go hot stuff, Gwen says, slapping my, but which causes me to step into the classroom silently. The moment I enter, every eye turns to me. It's you, Ida says, and charges forward. I demand an apology for the insult you have used against my family. My family honor demands it. Whatever, you insulted my watch. I've put people into the hospital for that. I brush past him and run my eyes over the room. Calculatingly, no 3 seats together, but I see a perverted midget in a back seat. And he's behind an empty seat with 2 empty ones to his right. Third to the right is a red and white-haired self, entitled-looking kid looking at Gwen with greed. Not happening. Pervert move, I demand. There's only 3 spots open and Helen ain't sitting in front of you. You don't get to see her. Why? But go away. I got here first, he says through a mouth full of drool. I grab his chair and lift it, swapping it with the one in front of him, and Gwen sits in it. I move to the middle, and Helen sits between Pokehair and I. I see him look her up and down, settle in her butt, and shake his head. Not big enough, huh? I begin playing with the Omnitrix. I do this for no particular reason, just biding my time and thinking ideas on how to use each alien form best. I notice the door open and press the buttons, Swampfire sinking into the watch as I look at the caterpillar wriggling to the class. Most of the class freezes, turning to it with a terrified look on their face. Pussies, I snort. Something funny, Tennyson? A tired, annoyed voice comes from the caterpillar. Most of this class are pussies. They're terrified of a caterpillar-looking sleeping bag. A snort sounded from the sleeping bag as it lifts and opens to reveal a hobo-looking man. That is funny, I guess he does roll call. Anyways, everyone go get changed into your exercise clothes. Gwen, Helen and I were up and out of the room before the rest had even comprehend what he said. The guys came rushing in as I pulled on my shirt, a singlet version of my jacket with a thin black rather than a white dash, and turned around, seeing them rushing. Statistically, it takes longer to get changed when you're rushing. Take your time and think through the process. I say, packing my uniform into a locker. Tim bro, what's your exercise routine to get that jacked? Kirishima, a red-hair guy, asks, only pulling on some shorts. Stuff that would break the normal person. I respond, walking out. It's true, the stuff I do would break a normal person. I've had the Omnitrix slowly leaking alien DNA into my system for the last 4 years at a slowly increasing pace to increase my adaptability both physically and mentally. It's also how I can somewhat shift my brain patterns to them too. Ben had a lot of untouched potential he never used. Originally using the Omnitrix as a toy, then a weapon, before finally getting it into his head that it's to keep the peace and to increase relations between alien races. I get outside as a blue and black blur appears and smoothens beside me, and Gwen Walsh out in a sports BR and shorts. Helen was wearing a simple one-piece swimsuit like green onesie that hid her true sizes. Girls, I nod, openly raking my eyes over Gwen's figure. She turns and runs her hand up her thigh and up over her, but, as I stare unashamedly, Tennyson, eyes in your head. I turn around to see our hobo looking at me disapprovingly. And, Tennyson, nay. Tennyson, stop flirting. And I want an explanation on this nonsense later. Fairly simple, sir. I'm Gwen's step-cousin and married her, emphasis on the step. You? Her. You do know people are going to think it's NCST, right? He asks. Maybe, but we don't care. Worst comes to worst, we have to run. Plenty of places out there for us, Izawa nods. He obviously thinks I mean on Earth, but I'm talking about the universe. Then again, he doesn't need to know that. The class arrives in varying sets of workout clothing. Yairozu's was basically a bikini, Ashido's was a pink version of Gwen's, Jairu's was a regular shirt and shorts. Hagakure, I can tell, has something like Helen, letting us see her silhouette, the frog girl, see who I think, shorts and sports BR, and finally, the round-faced girl, Ochako Uraraka, has a very skimpy bikini that was a size too small. Uraraka, go change. There's no way you exercise in that. Not only would you not be able to breath, but it's impractical, Izawa says. No, I can do it, Uraraka says, not even looking in his direction, keeping her eyes on me. Of skank, I'm not going to date you. I shoot at her direction. Why would I? When I can have this, why woman? I curl my arm around Gwen and kiss her lips softly. I hear a strangled scream and look to see a hand swing and slap me. I float into the air, feeling nausea. Good bloody thing, I trained in anti-nausea last year. I grumble, opening the watch dial and selecting Big Chill. I fly back to the ground where Uraraka was being restrained by a guy with an elbow tape quirk. Hey, Beach, remove your quirk or dash. I let out a frosty breath. I make you chill out. She continues to struggle, and I sigh, freezing her feet and lower legs to the ground. Pretty simple, Uraraka. Remove your quirk and never come near me again, or I take you to space. This form could survive it, can you? My raspy voice asks as I walk around her, my clawed feet digging into the ground with every step. I can see the chill already setting in as she shivers, making her body jiggle. WWWY. And not. Me. She stutters. Do you not get it, Uraraka? My wife just physically is so much more appealing than you could ever be. But I don't care about her body. I care more for her brain. She is probably the one person who knows me best, yet still wants to be with me. I bet if you were to know a fraction of the knowledge she knows, you would consider me a villain, simply because of my actions when my loved ones are in danger. Despite her legs going blue, she refuses, so I unfurl my wings and tap the Omnitrix to change to Heat Blast. So cold won't make you obey, huh? Let's turn up the heat. I melt the ice and form a ball in my palm, slowly increasing the temperature as she struggles. Slowly the ball turns blue and her skin pinks. A glacier launches at me, and I throw the ball at it, making it turn to steamy vapor that stings Uraraka's new sunburns. One last chance. Either you disable your quirk, or I let my magma fingers melt your finger pads off. No pads? No quirk. Then again, she'd have no fingers. It's a bluff, but I see her connect her fingers and tap the Omnitrix, then knock her out. Were you serious about that last bit? Aizawa asks. Nope, I'm not a killer, and if I did as I said, she'd have no fingers long before I remove the pads, I answer. Heroics class is boring. All Might is the teacher, and he had us suit up to meet him for a practical exercise. I just put on my outfit from Gwen. I got a few of them to spare. So as I look around the class, I groan. None of these suits are remotely practical besides Yairozu, Gwen, Helen, and myself. 2 of our classmates have the right idea and have regular clothes. All Might's just blabbering on and on about how the exercise will work now, and I get bored, so I fiddle with the Omnitrix. Young Tennyson, what are you doing? I hear All Might boom. I'm waiting for you to finish. I got the gist of it. 2 heroes, 2 villains. Heroes have to either capture the villains with the tape or touch the bomb. The villains win by either capturing the heroes with the same tape of waiting out till the bomb goes off. 10 minutes to plan at the start. Then we go. No life-threatening injuries or attacks. If the exercise stops and the party causing them gets a 0 and detention, did I miss anything? I ask bored, only now looking up from the Omnitrix. You missed the fact that disobeying my instructions partway into the match gets the same consequences as the other bit. I just lift my eyebrow. You mean that isn't a given? I get a few snorts of laughter from this. We shall decide by drawing lots. But since we have an extra student, one person will have to go by themselves. And I think you just volunteered, young Tennyson. Whatever, only 2 people in this class could actually beat me. Against the whole class. Without the bomb. Rather, it's a match of chase and capture. Now that's discrimination. I ignore the big oaf and close the Omnitrix. I'm first in season, and wants everyone to fight me from the start. I press the Omnitrix and transform into Buzzshock, the best alien I have by far. I'll sit this one out, Sensei. I can't beat up my husband. Gwen calls, Helen quickly joining her on the sidelines. You can't beat Buzzshock. I'm a one-man army. I double, then double, and double again. Find the original or fail. Each of me rushes off and vanish into the power lines. From the power lines, I watch as the class begins planning. Yairozu trying to make an EMP while the others protected her. I watch as she makes a new version of the Faraday cage. It only needs a pole of a special alloy every 30 meters, and an EMP won't go past it. I chuckle. So simple. One of my copies zaps from a power line and electrocutes Yairozu on the back of the neck, dropping her like a bag of potatoes. The copy then overloads and fries the EMP before the last. Few bits are put in, and Ojiro slaps the copy, and it vanishes in a ball of green light that enters the power lines to return to me. My copies use the same tactic for Todoroki. A side benefit was that he'd been using his quirk at the moment, if shock causing it to unleash a fog of ice. I take advantage of the opportunity, changing to Swamp Fire and dropping into the fog and rolling, my plant-like body easily absorbing the fall. I start releasing my methane. What's that smell? Mina Ishido calls. How should we know Mina? Todoroki fogged the place. It's freezing. Sue's already passed out. Uraraka calls back. The smell is me. And you lot are toast, I call. I hear running and wait till I judge them a fair bit from the fog. With a snap of my fingers, I let off a spark that makes the methane, which has mixed with the cold air, explode in heat. A huge explosion goes off, and the air expands rapidly. I hear a few screams and see Su Ajui, the frog girl laying on the ground in the light. My copies appear, having seen her, and use themselves as a living shield for her, Todoroki and Yairozu, who had been left in the fog. The explosion's force had torn my body apart, the Omnitrix being dropped to the ground in the explosion while my torso, head and legs fly out in pieces, rolling to the feet of the class who screamed in terror, thinking I had died. The explosion fades as the clones all woozily float off the 3 and merge to become 3 before transforming into copies of my human form, and then into XLR-8, Big Chill, and Brainstorm. My body regrows from the part of me in the Omnitrix, and I look at the horrified class as they see me. Swamp Fire gives me near immortal level regeneration, meaning I can't really die easily, I call. XLR-8, Please do handle the explosive Pomeranian first, then engage All Might. Big chill. Immobilization is all we need to win this. Take out their feet first so they can continue on for their own matchups. Gotcha. XLR 8 speeds off. On it, Big Chill rasps, vanishing from sight. XLR 8 dashes forward by and easily runs circles around Bakugo, taking him out of the match, and Big Chill passes through the class, evident by their sudden freezing. Brainstorm and I watch, and I take seeds off my arm, tossing them in front of me. They grow a massive wall that is destroyed as All Might punches it. I thought you weren't going to be in this, All Might, I say. Let's make it official. I raise my hand, spraying sleeping gas in his face, so he falls and I pull him from the wall as an explosion of steam goes off. He deflates as the wall regenerates. How intriguing. We've never seen signs of his quirk being of the transformative form. Because it isn't, I answer, pulling his hero suit shirt up to reveal a majorly disgusting scar. He is missing half his respiratory system and his entire stomach. He must take injections for nutrition. Think we can heal it? I asked. No, but we know who can. Gwen. Indubitably. We'll have her do it later. Still have a fight to win. A green flash goes off, and I remove the wall. Never mind. I keep forgetting how overpowered I am. In front of me were either frozen or taped up people. Bakugo was hogtied in a way that he'd hurt himself if he exploded. We three turned a heat blast and began freeing the students while the XLR 8 me takes All Might to the nurse. After 10 minutes, he returned with All Might buffed up again, and I killed at me, making him turn into a green light and return to the Omnitrix. I got a chewing out from Gwen for that stunt, but then I got a good makeout session after we got home. A boring fight, since I didn't actually get into the thick of it myself. Learning what I did about All Might was useful, though. Gwen is against healing him, so we won't tell anyone. We did get told there was a rescue training exercise at the end of the week. That night, I get an ominous feeling and instinctively grab the Omnitrix. I remember Professor Paradox's words. It has already begun. I'll be ready. I have to be. I frown before laying beside Gwen and hugging her close. I won't let her be hurt. I'll die before that happens. Elsewhere, 9:00 p.m. You have the plan all put together, Tamura? A voice plays from a screen with audio only on it. Yes, Sensei. I'm worried about the number of NPCs I've managed to recruit to the party, though. A man with hands all over him with pale blue hair responds. It'll be fine, Tamura. This is simply a test for Nomu. I have a suggestion. An electric-sounding voice calls. The one no as Tamura turns around to see a black pile of goo forming from the cracks in the floor, red circuitry forming across its body. I'm searching for something. I believe a student at UA has it. I would foolish to try and take it by myself, but I am willing to let a hand in your endeavor. It answers. The circle bit of circuitry on its very thin, weak-looking body glows as it speaks. Who dash? Tamura starts, only to be cut up by Sensei. What is this item you are looking for? It's a watch. As you can tell, I am weak. This watch can help me return to my former health since I am technological in form. In return, I can absorb and upgrade technology you need upgraded, he says. He grabs the remote off the counter and absorbs it. After a moment, he spits it out. Whereas before it was cracked and outdated, now it looked fixed and very much more modern. Tamura speaks after seeing this display. Ow! Intriguing. What shall we call you? Friend. You can call me Malware. On Friday at the end of lunch. I don't trust that alarm. I whisper to Gwen, Helen listening in with her enhanced hearing. Because of that gut feeling, right? Is that why you preset the watch to buzz shock? Gwen asks. Yes, that, and he's my favorite and most powerful alien so far. You know where this is headed. The bus sways as the class talks back and forth between one another, and Tsu Azui, the frog girl, calls over to me. Tennyson, I tend to be rather blunt, so forgive my rudeness, but what's with your quirk? Caro, my quirk. I didn't get the watch part till I was 14, after I nearly died. Ever since I was 4, my body had been extremely weak, sickly. I could never gain muscle, always tired, and I believe I was quirkless since my quirk is a mutation all the way through. My DNA is continuously evolving, rapidly. It was doing so chaotically as a child and draining my physical muscle and bone strength. My physical energy was always gone due to having to continuously replenish that drain. When I was 14, however, I was thrown into the koi pond at school and taken through a busted grate through the sewers and out to the beach at Dagoba when it was a dumping ground. I thought I would die. Then the wrist appeared in a flash of green light and healed me. Using the ability Swamp Fire has to do so, the plant one I was when I beat you all. Since then, I could turn into 10 different forms. I call them aliens because they're the peak of that bunch of DNA. Helen matches my XLR8 form, due to her family having the best speed-type quirk on the planet. But to transform the watch, or Omnitrix as I call it, suppresses my human DNA and replaces it with my alien DNA. It's draining, so I can only transform for 10 minutes at a time with a 5-minute recharge. So you have to manually pick each and every alien you want to transform into. She asks, technically no, I have the ability MSTR control, able to transform rapidly with a thought and no real-time limit. But I've locked that since I feel I should earn it first, instead of relying on it. What counts to you as earning it? Coming to terms that one day, having to kill someone to protect others will happen, and I'll need to be the one to do it. The bus goes silent after that, and we arrive. Everyone enters the building in 13. The instructor for this class begins to talk, a talk I ignore as I notice a black and purple fog appear. Damaged alien DNA detected, TH Omnitrix says suddenly. Where and what species? In the center of the building, galvanic mechamorph, aka malware. Malware? This DNA is cataloged. It has minor alterations to previous confrontations, meaning it is not the same malware. It's this universe's malware. But who is malware? Out of the portal comes a man in hands, a giant black-purple bug guy, and a black and red pile of skeletal goo. Aizawa. Villains. I yell as a horde of villains appear. I turn to Kaminari as I transform. Buzz shock. Hit me. Energy makes duplication easier. I order him. He grabs me and electrocutes me. Other MES rapidly appear and go to fight while Kaminari continues to electrocute me. Good work, Kaminari. My copies may be able to buy enough time for you lot to get Helen out the door to get to UA for backup. Without a word, Gwen gets to the door to try and break through. It's titanium and massive. I sense my copies getting killed, and a bunch of green lights begin to return to me. Their memories enter my head, and I see they were getting a fair few before malware unleashed an energy surge that overloaded them quicker than they could replicate. Kaminari goes. Ding. I curse and fly out of his grip. I charge down the stairs. My copies aren't me, so their Omnitrix aren't really life-protecting, thus no emergency duplication. I fly right at malware, unleashing a bunch of copies as Aizawa takes out the grunt villains. The Omnitrix is coming to me. Give it to me, he tells, grabbing my copies and absorbing them. Unlike before, no green light comes back. As I watch in shock, his body begins filling out. More. Give me more. We fly around him, sending electric shocks at him that do some damage, but he's grabbing my copies quicker than we can damage him. He ain't going down. One screams and gets grabbed. His screams of fear flood my circuits with coldness. Then he grabs me. I feel as he drains my energy. Life force draining, life protection protocol initiated, the Omnitrix says. So you're the real one, malware says. I'm going to enjoy corrupting your Omnitrix and making it mine. My copies and turn to energy and fill me. Red circuitry forms across my black skin as I struggle to get out and feel an odd sensation. I'm being peeled out of my own body and I launch backwards, seeing a yellow-eyed Buzzshock in Malware's grip. Before my very eyes, Buzzshock is drained like a juice box, and his remaining dried remains turned to ash. Buzzshock, I scream. I'm being peeled out of my own body, and I launch backwards, seeing a yellow-eyed Buzzshock in Malware's grip. Before my very eyes, Buzzshock is drained like a juice box, and his remaining dried remains turned to ash. Buzzshock, I scream. Buzzshock, I scream. I could feel as he died, having been about to suffer the same fate. So, you were attached to the little megawatt form, huh? You'll be joining him within me, Malware. Soon enough, Malware chuckles, turning into a robot form. My associates were kind enough to give me this machine. I've, of course, made some modifications. I tremble in anger, no rage. How dare he take buzz shock? His arm lifts to aim a cannon at me and fires. I duck to the side, rolling as I panic. Opening the Omnitrix, I search for buzz shock. No, 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 no. Omnitrix, where is Megawatt DNA? I call, leaping over another laser. Where is the Megawatt DNA? Galvanic Mechamorph corrupted Megawatt DNA. To preserve user's life, it had to be ejected. Megawatt DNA is no longer in the Omnitrix. Unlock any alien that matches the abilities of Megawatt species. Searching. Conductoid DNA found. A cousin of the Megawatt species evolutionary chain. Will this serve as a viable replacement? The Omnitrix dial opens, and a hologram of a thin alien with one eye and two head tails and a regular tail ended in plugs appears. Its hands are some form of socket. Will conductoid DNA allow the defeat of malware? It can absorb all energy and reuse that energy as an energy blast. This includes machines and malware. Unlock conductoid DNA and transform I. Command. Function locked. Override code. Tennyson Izuku 10-10. Override accepted. Commencing transformation. I freeze in position and he fires as a green flash goes off. I absorb the red laser blast, my fingers crackling. Hey, this guy feels good. I smirk, feeling the energy bouncing inside me like an adrenaline rush, pushing back the sadness of Buzzshock's death. My voice sounds like electricity. I shoot back at malware. He dodges. A conductoid, huh? I'll just do the same to this transformation as the last. No, you won't, malware. You just killed something very precious. So in return, I'll grant you the same favor. I shoot rapid-fire blasts at him, charging him as he does the same. My blasts are much stronger than Buzzshock, so it's not a surprise he visibly recoils when I hit him. We clash, my plugs digging into his body and drain the energy out of him. He will die. I know him now. Flashback. Breaking news. There's been another victim, once again drained of all energy and physically malnourished despite being seen not 3 hours earlier. Heavily muscular. Flashback end. If I don't stop him, he'll kill more, a technomorphic vampire, draining people to death for power. His body begins to shrivel, and I use the same energy to shoot blasts into him repeatedly, doing massive damage this time. No, I am malware. I cannot be defeated by a puny conductoid. He grabs the Omnitrix on my vest and attempts to take control. No, you don't. I grit my teeth, my arms grabbing his and tearing them from the Omnitrix. You won't take this one like you took Buzzshock, nor will anyone else die from you. His form returns to the heavily skeletal body it was, now yellow, and a portal opens beneath him, making him fall through it and escape. No! I blast into the portal just before it's shut. My anger is building. I need a way to let loose. Huh. My Nomu can defeat All Might. What can a stick figure like you hope to kill it? I hear from the Handman. I turn and see Aizawa on the ground under the bird guy and heavily injured. Let's see if I can't do it then. I yell, letting out all the energy I drain from malware. I roar as the massive beam of energy shoots across the plaza. My eye squints from the sheer amount of light, and I breathe, gasping as the energy and my anger seeps from my body. The Nomu was destroyed. Only its lower legs remained. You cheater. I call hacks. You were meant to be beaten by malware, and Nomu was meant to kill All Might. He stomps the ground. A tantrum? What a child. Only sadness from Buzzshock's death is keeping me from attacking him while he has his tantrum. Buzzshock was my favorite. He was my go-to alien and the one I care about most. So losing him feels like there's a gaping hole in my chest. I feel a tear and wipe it away. The fog appears and morphs into a man that looks around and portals them both away. I fall to my knees and cry. Izuku, I hear. I tap the Omnitrix and change back. Izuku, what's wrong? Gwen asks, wrapping me in her arms. I open the dial and mime turning it. She does, and I see the moment she realizes. Where is Buzzshock? Malware. Killed him. She gasps, and pulls me into a hug as I dimly notice hand job sinking into a portal. Helen blurs over and hugs me after Gwen explained. That's how I feel asleep, red eyes and tears down my cheeks, being hugged by both girls. I wake up and see a white room. I SD up and look around to identify the infirmary. Why am I here? Transforming heals me automatically. I'll just go Buzz Shock and... Oh, I remember the USJ attack. I open the Omnitrix and CYCL to Buzz Shock slot, instead seeing the Conductoid. Buzz Shock, I'll miss you even if I get new megawatt DNA. It won't be yours, but I won't forget. I'll kill malware for this. Galvanic Mechamorphs should never be the kind of disgusting thing he is. I need a name for you. I murmur. Energy-based. I examine him and remember his abilities. You absorb and send back energy of most forms. Like a feedback loop. I'm betting Ben called you feedback, didn't he? I think I'll do the same. I close the Omnitrix and turn a stand, rolling my arms and legs to get the BLD flowing as I do. What are you doing up? I hear. I look and see Recovery Girl. I'm not injured, and I need to train since malware's coming after me again. She waves her cane at me. No, you don't. We have no idea what happened to you after your quirk was damaged. You're staying here, and out of any form of use of your quirk till we can fix this. It won't matter. This isn't the first time I lost one of my transformations. This is the one I cared for, though. I move past her and feel her grab my pants. Shaking her grip loose, I dial XLR8 and leave. I appear in a lounge room where Gwen, Helen, and Manny were sitting. Hey, everyone. Izuku. I get landed on in a dog pile and laugh. DMN you guys. XLR8 isn't designed for dog piles. They get off me after a while. Izuku. How are you doing? Gwen asks. It hurts, but I should be alright with time. Plus, probably helps I'm going through the Necrophrygian reproduction CYCL tonight, tomorrow, and the day after. That reminds me, I'll be in a junkyard. Figured check-in would stop you lot from worrying. I super speed out and across the city and out of it to the biggest junkyard in Mustafu and change back. Omnitrix. How long will Necrophrygian reproduction CYCL last when started in a junkyard? It will last 54 hours approximately. Good. When I give BRTH to my children, transport them into the Omnitrix's internal universe, abbreviation OIU. Order confirmed. Begin Necrophrygian aka Big Chill Lifeform Lock for the duration of reproduction CYCL. Confirmed. I flash green and feel my mind grow hard to focus. Metal. Nest. Omnitrix. Initiate Lifeform Lock. Do not allow Necrophrygian form to leave this junkyard. Confirmed. With that, I surrender control of myself to the Necrophrygian instincts. I get flashes. Metal. Eating. Birthing hurts. Freeze eggs. Keep cool. Protect. I gasp and look around. It's dark. Am I in a cave? What happened? Omnitrix. Time and day. My voice rasps. It is currently 3 p.m. Sunday afternoon, 54 hours after commencing Lifeform Lock on Necrophrygian DNA. You're currently in a nest you created to BRTH your young. Congratulations, Izuku. You are a mother. I hear a bit of sass in that last remark. I look around, recognizing the metal, and look down, seeing a nest of 14 blue and black eggs. I breath more ice on. Huh, that's more instinctual than I expected. I hear a rattle and see cracks on one egg. As I watch, more and more eggs rattle and crack open and little work-looking big chill larvae with wings and green eyes appear. Hello, little ones. How are you? I ask softly, stroking them as they cuddle around me. Incoming transmission. From who? Azimuth. Answer. Since the Omnitrix isn't a watch, it projects a hologram in front of me as I unfurl my wings. What's happening? It's too dark. Omnitrix. Compensate for the dark environment. The Omnitrix lets out a few green orbs and they fly around, brightening up the space. Midoriya. Ah, so you went through what Ben did. At least you seem to be treating them better than him. They're still wandering our universe somewhere, Azimuth says. I found all of them, and I'm keeping track of them. I was 15 for crying out loud. Ben calls off hologram. And it was forced on me and me having no idea what was going on. Whatever Ben, Midoriya. I called to check in on what happened a few days ago, but you were unavailable. Now I understand why. Now, what happened to your megawatt DNA? Azimuth demands. A surge of sadness washes through me as my larvae cluster enclosed for the coldness I emanate. Malware. I have one too. I answer, more frost than normal coming out as I speak. Oh, well, I'm sorry for your loss. Our malware took feedback, Ben's favor at the time. He still rarely speaks of him. Don't mention another therapist, Azimuth. Just don't. I hear, in the hiss of a door. Constantly changing into one form over the rest makes that DNA more prominent in your system. But when it's removed, that makes it feel like you lost a part of yourself. That's how Ben explained it the one time he spoke of feedback. I don't think it ever healed, but I don't have good empathy to help him like he needs. I know you unlocked the conductoid DNA to defeat malware. Don't rely on that alien against him. He's a powerhouse, but predictable, someone to unlock. Few other aliens to help you against malware. Also, you seem to transform between aliens through your human form. There's no need for that. Simply think the form you want to be and tap the Omnitrix, and you'll change from form to form. I nod in understanding. Now, I'll be unlocking 3. Planchicule DNA. Careful, half his inventions explode, and he's nuts half the time. Orictini DNA. Eat things and use them as energy to fight, and segmentacipian DNA. Blocky version of a polymorph. I revert to human, and my kids fly back a bit in shock. They fly around me before hugging me again. The Omnitrix dial spins, and the hourglass turns to a diamond and back a few times, each time showing a new hologram. All right, kids, I have a place for you to live. In this, I hold up the Omnitrix. But I want to ask if any of you want to remain out here for a little longer. I won't be able to visit often. They chitter amongst themselves, surprisingly intelligent for children, and the smallest one flies to my shoulder. Omnitrix, take each of the necrophrygian larvae into the OIU. Leave the smallest one, which is on my shoulder. Understood. A green flash occurs, and all except the smallest vanish. Set timescale to 20:1 for the OIU to be 20 times faster than out here. Understood. I sigh and look for the entrance, walking out the small hole and pet the little one. I'll name you Frost. Is that okay? A chitters and nuzzle. Okay, so your name is Frost now. I start the walk home, feeling the hunger in my gut grow slowly. Now I'm human again. Necrophrygian adults last longer than children do. I stop by a shop and get some chips and nutrition bars, offering some to Frost who tried them. She liked the ice cream I got her, but not the rest. Other soft food perhaps since she's a newborn. Maybe Heat Blast can make solar radiation since he's made of fire. I get home and unlock the door, stepping through. I'm back. I call. Izuku, did you get pictures? Gwen calls. I got one better. I walk into the lounge, and Gwen sees Frost. Frost, this is Gwen, my wife Gwen. This is Frost, one of my children. She squealed and grabbed him, looking her over, rubbing her chin to get a little chitter of delight. I dial Heat Blast and hold my hand out to try generating the solar radiation needed. For a few minutes, nothing happened. Then I just heat up a bit while focusing on my longing. I open my eyes and see Frost sucking from one of my blue fingers and focus the radiation into that one. Frost finishes, letting out a cute burp, and I change to Big Chill as she snuggles into my cowl and around my neck for a nap. I don't know why I refer to Frost as a she, but I just get the feeling that she's female, mentally at least. Welcome to the family, Frost Tennyson, I rasp softly. The next day, I was in class, Frost around my shoulders. She doesn't seem to need the cold like most necrophrygian babies do. Maybe my DNA mixed with Big Chills changed that requirement. Aizawa walks in dressed like a mummy, reminding me of one of the aliens I could have picked for the recalibration. Snarrow, a being made of fibers, it could control telekinetically and revel or unravel in any shape it desired. I almost picked it, but I felt its abilities are a bit complicated for me. It must constantly be using its telekinetic ability to keep its body together. Tennyson, the old lady is pissed off at you for leaving Friday. She's out for BLD. He calls to the back a bit loudly. I shouldn't have been in her care in the first place. Plus, my quirk would have torn the school building apart over the weekend. I say softly. Frost was napping. and no yelling. What do you mean you shouldn't have been in her care in the first place? You lost a part of your DNA. He continues yelling, and gained 4 new strands I can access. And no yelling. I hiss. Something is clearly wrong. You weren't like this Friday, Yaoruzu says. Of course not. My quirk made me a parent over the weekend. I snap at her. What? The class yells. Shut up. I give off death glares. Run that. By me again, Aizawa says slowly. My necro-Phrygian form, Big Chill, technically has no gender, so it reproduces equally, meaning I lay a bunch of eggs every 80 years because of the USJ it was sped up to this weekend. I make a nest out of metal, and my form's natural instincts take over, meaning I would have torn UA apart from metal. And keep in mind, I have both a mutation quirk and a permeation ability in that form. You would have timed out and been back to normal Kaminari calls. Quiet. Anyways, when my natural instincts come out, I don't have a time limit. I had 14 kids, 13 left to seek out food for themselves, and 1 stayed. I pull Frost from my shoulders, hidden in my hood. I had sewn a pouch in my jacket that negates permeation abilities, so she didn't vanish, but my own body works too. Mina screamed, and I glare at her. She sits and covers her mouth. Everyone, meet Frost Tennyson. She is the smallest of my brood and very clingy. I'll turn a heat blast randomly to feed her, so don't freak out when I do. Frost mews a bit and rolls over to my hand, sucking on my thumb as her sign for hunger. I dial heat blast and change. My finger turns blue as it emits alarm radiation. What are you feeding her? Aizawa asks. Solar radiation. Necrophrygians feed off it. This saves me flying to the sun every day and grabbing some to bring back. Heat blast, dry, raspy voice answers. I look on her fondly. Best you start class, Aizawa. I'll keep her under control. He sighs and groans about not being paid enough for this, then starts the lesson. Frost finishes her meal and flutters about the class a bit, playing with some of their quirks. As she went near Bakugo. Frost, not him, come back to mommy, I call. Frost hovers a bit and looks to me and back to Bakugo, who looked irritated and seemed confused. Then she decided to sniff his interesting smelling hands. Boom! I jump from my seat and catch Frost before she hit the wall. I look her over, but her natural heat resistance protected her. Running my fingers across her body, I feel nothing damaged. None of her ribs must be too springy to snap. A pink glow surrounded her, and she flew to Gwen, who held her softly. Bakugo, I'm feeling angry. You have 10 seconds head start. Rage fills my veins, making them burn. The Omnitrix begins sparking. Error. Error. UL209 function, low CKED. Enjoy, pops up and dials automatically to Big Chill and transforms me. But I'm not blue. I'm red and on fire. 5 seconds. You aren't going to stop him, Sensei? Kirishima asks as Bakugo leapt out the window. If there's one thing I know, it's never get between a mother and the one who hurts her child. 1. I leap from the floor, vanishing through the window in the direction of the explosive Pomeranian. My flight hasn't changed, but my ice has. I test a breath to find fire that turns to ice. Let's burn a Pomeranian. Another part of my mind agrees, wishing to kill. Suffering is worse than death. We have him suffer and beg for us to stop. Then we stop. He'll live with the burns and remember not to harm our kids. I turn invisible and sink under the ground. The ground stops rumbling as hard, and I burst from the ground, sending a wave of fire at him, catching him unawares and freezing his shoulders. SHD. That hurts. He roars angrily. And you hurt her. I freeze, burn his legs. The ice cracks and shatters. He flies off, and I pursue. You'll pay for hurting her cat Suki, and you'll beg for us to stop. That DKU. You're just a waste of life. Any kid of yours is too. My claws catch his collar, and I dig in my feet, Frost flaming his hands and slamming him to the ground to then frost him all over. See, I don't care if you blast me. You could do that all day long. But harm anyone in my family, and I'll hunt you down. And make you pray for someone to be your hero. I set my hand on fire and lower it to his face. A loud thump behind me heralds All Might's arrival. Let go of young Bakugo villain. I'm no villain sensei. but I will not let him go without a warning for his transgression. I place my hand on his face and sear it, leaving an ice burn in the shape of my hand across the left of his face. He screams in agony throughout the slow burn, and I phase through a punch. Don't use your quirk on my daughter again, Bakugo, or you'll find I won't be so merciful. Use that as a reminder every morning that you attacked a baby. I turn around and spread my wings, flying back to the classroom. He's alive. I left him a present, so he'll think twice about attacking children. I rasp, and Frost flies over to me. Hey, Frost, feeling all right? That's good. Take a nap, okay? Nasty boom boom, boy won't hurt you again. Thanks, ultimate big chill. She curls up in my jacket, and I tap the Omnitrix, changing back to me. What was that? It was a function I locked away. It forcefully evolved my aliens to the next stage of their evolution if I ate the most nutritious food and trained all day, every day, in the worst environment possible for 1,000,000 years. Side effect, the ultimate form is sentient. I don't feel comfortable just using them as weapons, so I locked it away. But how come you changed now? I take a guess at my maternal instincts along with ultimate big chills drove it to forcefully unlock it from the inside to punish Bakugo. I go back to my seat and go silent. I wonder what this means for the rest. Class eventually starts, and not long after that Bakugo stumbled in, bandages on his face, and his glare was worse than before. I just glare back, raising the Omnitrix, and he flinches. Good. Now that the planets and galaxies in the Omnitrix are synced and populated by their respective races, maybe the ultimate aliens won't be so upset by my using their powers when I need to. I see YCL through the newer aliens in curiosity. Which will I prefer? Jury Rig? Blocks? Or Edel? I tried Jury Rig yesterday, and when I looked at some junk I left in my room, it was as if I understood the secrets of the universe. My mind exploded from an ant fart to the explosion of 1,000 stars. And from a phone and a blender, I crafted a hoverboard. It's in the other pocket I put in my jacket, a collapsible hoverboard of 2 circles with a rectangle middle. It's no thicker than a phone and extends to the length of a skateboard. Jury Rig scares me because that shouldn't even be possible. Class ends, and I head out to the forest to try out Edel. I transform and lift a boulder with minor difficulty and eat it. I feel it convert to energy and shoot a green beam from the top of my horn that destroys another boulder. How interesting. Speed and durability with a ranged heavy attack. I'm a living tank. Thanks, Azimuth. Jury Rig still scares me, though. I tap the Omnitrix, turning into blocks. So I'm living Lego. I send a punch forward, feeling as my arm extends to hit a boulder. I begin rebuilding my body in a variety of ways. The most difficult form I can make myself become is a catapult, though an escalator is easy. Becoming a ball is basically a weaker cannon bolt since I can be broken apart. But the regeneration is nice. Plus, if I play it right, I can use that to get the drop on some guys. They hit me, I fall apart all around them, then, when they lower their guard, I attack. I head home and relax with Frost and Gwen. The sports festival is coming up soon. Aizawa says next class. So for the next 2 weeks homeroom, heroics, and any free periods are to be used as training for the festival. This is because of how important it is to your futures. How could a festival be important to our future as heroes? Mineta asks, uncharacteristically non-perverted. Have you not watched it? It's one of the biggest scheduled events on the planet each year. UA uses it as a chance to let heroes and companies can see their students and maybe offer a week-long internship. These internships allow you to then have someone who you can call for work studies. Correct, Midoriya. Also, because of your large amount of alien transformations, you'll be given a handicap. 3 alien forms for the entire festival. I look at him in shock. Okay, I'm surprised I was allowed that many. I expected to be told a single alien for the day. He looks at me with suspicion at my easy acceptance of the handicap, but continues with the rest of the class. I already know 2 of my aliens I'll select. XLR-8 for the first event, usually a race of some sort. Edel for the second event, usually a team event. Maybe Humongosaur for the third event, a battle. I could also use Edel and XLR-8 there as well. Thank you for joining us on this journey through What If Deku's Omnitrix made him immortal? We hope you found it as captivating as we did. A big thank you to Springtrap212332 for creating such an engaging story. Don't forget to visit their profile on Wattpad for more fantastic works. The link is in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please give a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Zen and Fanfics for more intriguing explorations into fanfiction and fantasy. Your support helps us create more content like this, and we love hearing your thoughts and suggestions in the comment section. See you soon in the next video.